Art can mean different things to different people. For me, it's all about the joy of creativity. So if you draw, paint, write, dance, sing, craft, play air guitar, or even sculpt using nothing more than mashed potatoes, consider yourself an artist and join our conversation. For the next half hour, meet the artist and learn about their inspiration while we all enjoy the beauty of creativity. Welcome to Season 2 of Art Talk with John Cole Artist. Hey, good evening, everyone. It's John Cole Artist and my podcast, Art Talk. Tonight, I always forget. Today is the 12th of March. I don't know why I keep forgetting the date. I think if you go back, Brieanna, and look at any of my other podcasts, I never know what day it is, but I guess sometimes that happens. Tonight, everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Brieanna Ingalls. She is I'll let her describe it, but I know that she knows the world of gaming and the design of games, which I always thought was super cool. Myself, I had a little dabble of it a couple years ago when I was a student at Southern New Hampshire University, which coincidentally is exactly where Bree is studying. Hi, Bree. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
Oh, don't be nervous. I think you said this might be your first time doing a podcast, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. It's just fun. We're just going to have a conversation tonight. I was wondering if you could tell my audience or our audience really a little bit about yourself.
I'm a full-time student at Southern New Hampshire University, and I'm earning my bachelor's in game art and development. I live in Vermont with my 2-year-old daughter, and I am so close to graduating. It's exciting.
Oh, yeah. We were talking a little bit about that, and I think you said you've got one more term after this one?
Yep.
Wow. And how long have you been? Is it 2-year, 4-year? What's the
4-year. I started in January of 2021.
Okay, so that was right in the middle of COVID, right? Because 2020 was start of COVID. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, and congratulations, you being so close to that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
We have somebody watching. It's Christine Cole, who coincidentally, Bree, is my wife. She's online watching us this evening. Gaming is really cool, and I've been. This is the first time we've actually talked face to face. I think we had 1 or 2 classes together, if I remember correctly. But you were gracious enough to accept my friend request maybe a year or 2 years ago, and I've been following what you're doing in the different classes as you're moving towards this degree program. Well, first of all, I just want to say that you're doing some really cool stuff.
Thank you.
But I would be interested to know a little bit more about how complicated it is really because gaming, in my opinion, is a form of art. We've got an Xbox there in the living room, and you bring up some of these games, and they're very feature rich. They're very colorful. A lot of the first person games are just they've come a long way over the years. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess the question would be: is developing a game as complicated as maybe we think it is?
Yes. So one of the side projects that I'm kind of working on is like this solo game challenge is I wrote out a game design document, and it has to have everything from like characters to items to environment, dialogue, actions, what inputs from like controllers or mouse and keyboard, to whether those inputs have sound, whether it's 3D models have animation, how many different animations do you need, like with the viruses that you saw on my Facebook page.
Right.
Like each one of those viruses had to be 3D modeled and then painted and then rigged and then animated to have an idle animation and attack animation, and a chase the character animation, and that is just one enemy. So it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't even. Did you even mention the environment itself? I don't even know.
No.
Yeah. That's a whole another animal completely, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And so you're doing what did you say was a solo game challenge?
Yeah. So after my last term, um, with the virus game, I um, I had this epiphany while I was in my kitchen doing dishes that I have all the skills to build the game that I wanted to build before I started school.
Mhm.
And I started school because I everything was just so complicated and so overwhelming that I needed that structure to kind of get through it. And I'm glad that I did. So now I'm looking back at that game and I'm going, I can build this now.
Right, right. Yeah, and Christine asked you build all your characters from scratch. That's a really good question.
Yeah, I do. I generally start with a sketch, some kind of idea of a sketch, and then depending on the complexity, if it's not very complex, I can do a front and a side, and flat image, and I can take that image into 3ds Max and start with a little square
Mhm.
and just build it. I have videos on my YouTube channel that kind of go through the process of that as well.
Yeah, I myself have tried to build characters, but again, when we were talking earlier, one of my least strongest skills is drawing. And I think I wasn't born with that. It's not an innate ability of mine to be able to draw anything. I going through high school back in the 80s, I wasn't really afforded any types of classes that focused on things like figure drawing or any of that type of stuff. So here I am all these years later thinking, oh, I've got, like you, I've got this great idea because I work more in just the animation side, the the storyline side, right? I got
Yep.
this great idea for this character, but I'll be darned if I can make it look like anything. You know what I mean? It's just not a skill that I have. So that's awesome that you have that, because I've also seen some of the work on your DeviantArt site, and I think you've got if it was a website I looked at, or maybe it was your Facebook page, but you've got that skill. So that's awesome that you have that. Now, is that something that you learned, or is that something that just comes natural for you?
When I was younger, I drew like a lot,
Mhm.
but I didn't have any confidence with it. And looking back now, I can see that it was good, and I don't know why I didn't have any confidence with it. So
Yeah.
I've been drawing for a long time.
Very good, very good. Christine, she also asks, what software did you say you used to create the animations?
I prefer Maya. Like I'll bounce back and forth between a whole bunch of stuff, but so I'll model something in 3ds Max and then I'll take it into Maya if I want it rigged or animated.
Okay. And just for folks that don't understand what's rigging, what does that mean?
So rigging is when you take the 3D model that you built and then you give it a skeleton so that you can move your 3D model.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I've often run into this myself because I use Blender, which is the free 3D application, and I've used Maya. Maya is just as good. I think there's some folks that prefer Maya over Blender, some folks that prefer Blender over Maya, and whatever other options there are out there. I don't really know whether or not it makes a difference in the long run, other than if you're looking for employment, perhaps, because I think most organizations tend to want to look at the Autodesk package, right, with Maya and Mudbox and some of this other stuff. But I think the end result is always building this vision that you have in your head, like you're doing with this gaming thing, right?
Yeah.
And then I know for me, workflow is a key thing for that. Where would you begin? Like if somebody wanted to um, learn how to design games on their own, where would they begin on that?
It's it really is like a difficult thing to approach. Like, if you want to build games, I would definitely recommend starting with small, itty bitty, tiny projects in Unreal Engine. Just try to learn as much as you can about the functionality of it. You know, I burn through YouTube videos just figuring out, blueprints and stuff. Like, if I want this functionality, I'm gonna burn through videos to try to figure out how to make that happen.
Mhm.
And if you can build kind of like this little itty bitty prototype, then you can look back and go, what art do I need to make this look good? I think. At least I think that's kind of my approach going into this game that I'm going to try to make, is
Right.
try to do like this simple little prototype and then add the art into it.
Okay, so from a gaming perspective in Unreal Engine, which is what you're using for the game itself.
Yeah.
Right? So what I think you're saying is you would, just for the sake of argument, let's say you have characters that interact, you might just make something that's incredibly basic to see how it all works together. And then if it works the way you envision it from a functional perspective, I guess is the way.
Yeah.
And then if it does, then you would take that next step and then start to really dive into character development and things like that.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
Wow. All right. Christine has a good question. She's full of good questions tonight. Do you create a storyboard first?
So I see storyboards as kind of more like an animation film kind of thing.
Mhm.
For game design, what's kind of really helped is learning how to make game design documents. And it kind of outlines, what's going to be in the game, if there's story, if there's characters, if there's levels, what do they look like? And then from there, like I just did this last night, was building a traceability matrix is what it's called, but it's really like an Excel sheet of all of the features that you want in your game, from like interactions, pickups, anything like that, if they have models, and just kind of staging it out from prototype phase to alpha to beta to final. So it's less storyboard and film because there's more like interaction, and you have to kind of anticipate how somebody is going to be interacting with your game.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Christine, do you create backstories for your characters? And she says, I have a lot of questions because there was a time I wanted to create games.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like if I'm focusing on just like one character, that character is going to have a backstory, because I'm going to use that backstory to kind of shape that character's art. I don't know. Have you seen my 3D model for Scissors?
I don't think I have. No. Is that
Okay?
Is that on YouTube or is it over on Facebook or?
That would be on my YouTube. I might have pictures on Facebook. I also have my models. The models are on my ArtStation because there was a whole portfolio class and they recommend ArtStation. But yeah, like she had a really tragic backstory, and that kind of played into her design, where she was in a fire and she lost the use of her legs. So now she kind of has these spider mechanical legs to move her around.
Right. Just talking to you, this is so cool because I'm like, I don't know if I ever really thought about how much really goes into something like a video game, right? And that's a really good question about the backstories and how you explained it, because when anybody that you see, anybody, they're not real, but any animated game character, they will, I would assume, react and act in accordance with their backstory. So if you don't know that backstory, then how are they going to do what you expect them to do, right?
Exactly.
Because we identify with video game characters as well, which is why we have movies now. Mario Brothers, right? That came out recently. Doom, that came out in the 90s. Oh my gosh, I can only think of two, but I know that there are a ton that are based on video games.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I just saw an ad for they're gonna make a Fallout series on Amazon Prime.
yeah, another one, right? Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So that just goes to show how important not only video gaming is in general to our culture now, right? Because it still is a big thing. But how much it impacts other things like film, like writing, books, things like that. That's pretty significant when you think about it. So
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that designing a video game isn't just simply a matter of sitting down and creating actions. It's really envisioning the entire world.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it makes me think because again, when I was going to SNHU, I took, I think it was only a couple classes, maybe 3 classes or something like that. It really would have been cool to keep going down that route because I think that would have been a heck of a lot more fun than graphic design. No offense, graphic designers. No, but that's a very static thing. Graphic design is a very static thing. So where would you see? Because you're young, you're in this place now where you're about to get out of school. The world is changing. Social media seems to be changing left and right. From a gaming perspective, what do you think the next step is? I mean, do you have any idea, or do you think would you like it to go in a certain direction? Maybe.
I see more like innovations with VR, kind of heading in that direction. It's that's another one of the games that I kind of want to make is something for VR. I've seen some innovations with augmented reality stuff, especially with the Apple, whatever that Apple Glass thing. I can see like things going in that kind of VR AR direction.
Yeah, I absolutely think you're right there. I mean, you just as we're sitting here talking about this, like, because I know that they have I don't know why I'm stuttering, that they have systems that can do that. I mean, I don't know how many TikTok videos I've watched where people are running into walls and stuff like that. Like the best ones, right? Going there wearing these silly headsets, but you know, with Apple's, and you're right, I can't think of the name of Apple's new device either. But looking at the potential of that with either augmented reality or visual reality, yeah, it really does open the door to some significant leaps in not only video gaming, but just in life in general.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Now, is that an area that you think that you'd like to head in that direction? So what's the big leap then between what you're doing now and what you're learning and something like that? Is it a completely different, set of rules that you need to design by, do you think, or do you think it?
I'm not sure. Like I'm probably gonna be heading in the direction of indie development, and it's not like strange or out of place for indie developers to kind of grasp onto this new technology and start developing stuff for it early. Right. Like VR games. There's a ton of indie VR games that AAA companies just haven't invested any time with because they have more success with consoles or PC.
Right. Yeah. Do you think though? Well, I don't even know if it's. I don't think. I mean, I think we will move in that direction. It would be nice to see some of these larger corporations, or maybe I don't know. I mean, I think that's probably debatable as well as whether or not we want these large corporations starting to move down that path necessarily.
Right.
But I think where the benefit to that is that you have the backing of the companies with the larger workforce to help produce some pretty robust games.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you said, when you described it up front, it's not just a matter of throwing Unreal Engine on your Mac or your PC
Mm-hmm.
and then clicking a few buttons and you have a game. There's far more that goes on behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Hi. Can I help you?
She's a good girl. Christine, she said, do you want to create your own gaming company in the future? Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question, because I sorry,
That's okay.
she's getting fussy. I don't know. I've never really envisioned myself owning a business, but this past term I kind of fell into like this leadership role on accident. But it was fairly successful in that we pulled together the virus prototype idea. So, you know, it's kind of up in the air for me. I'm just, I don't know, I'm used to working solo, but I'm not opposed to the idea of working with other people.
Yeah, I think it's good to be open to that, because the amount of effort, I think, it's just John's opinion. John doesn't work in the field, so I'm not an expert, but it seems to me that given what little exposure I've had to it, and because it requires not only time, effort, talent, but computing power. I mean, what are you running at home as a design environment? Is it a Mac PC? What is it?
It's a PC. I have an Acer Orion 3000. I think it's called a Predator. And I just upgraded. I put in a new terabyte SSD hard drive, a new terabyte HDD hard drive, and 2 8 GB RAM sticks. So it went from 8 to 16 RAM. So I'm slowly updating my baby.
Yeah. That's funny. You should mention the hard drive space. And that's also probably something worth mentioning when you're working in the 3D space. I would argue even on the gaming side is that the files that these software applications produce today are so much bigger than they were in 1996 when I had my first 486 computer with like 2 megabytes of RAM or something like that. I mean, it's dramatic the amount of hard drive space that this stuff takes up.
Right.
But where I was going with that about the effort behind it and the computing power specifically is that I know when even rendering frames of a short, because again, I do more animation film type stuff, and I put that in air quotes because I don't have any films, but that, even though it's different, the computing power needed to render that, sometimes even today I'm sitting back going, oh my gosh, why is this taking all this darn time? And I've got a nicer end Mac here,
Right. I think when I was rendering my turnarounds, they're just 10-second turnarounds, and it would take about an hour and a half to do 10-second turnarounds.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I've done, yeah, because I think 250 frames, give or take, is about 10 seconds of video, rendered at like 4K. Yeah, no matter what new equipment I get, it's never fast enough for the software, because I think the technology is advancing so quick in all these areas. Even if you look at VR, even if you look at AR or any of that type stuff, it's moving along so fast, and we, with the consumer end of it.
Sorry, honey.
She's a good girl.
She is. Yeah. She is. She just loves attention.
I know. That's why I have this show. I love attention too. Christine says, where do you get inspirations and ideas for your games?
Is this one that I want to make solo? I get a lot of inspiration from Spyro, the dragon. The older PlayStation game that recently got a revamp. Here, are you looking for these? Okay, go have fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Spyro, right? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it? Which video game universe does he come from? That's the little blue guy, right?
It's Purple Giant. He was originally for the original PlayStation, and then when they did the remaster, it was under Toys for Bob, a branch of Blizzard Activision.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Cool. So you're going to be graduating school soon.
Mm-hmm.
What's next then after that for you?
It's finding work and keeping my head above water so that I can, keep building stuff and making art and supporting my daughter.
And then do they recommend any kind of method for building a gaming portfolio? I don't even know what that would look like.
Yeah. Because I went towards the art side,
mm-hmm.
The game art and development. 1 or 2 terms ago, I did a class that specifically went over this is what your portfolio is supposed to look like, and if you're looking for character design and creature design, which at the time, that was kind of what my focus was. They were like, okay, so you need characters, creatures, front, side, turnarounds, just kind of our portfolio of what you can do, and then take that and put it on ArtStation, because ArtStation has artists, they have jobs, they have resources for people looking to get into the game industry. Hi.
Well, based on what I've seen, and folks, if you haven't checked it out, she's got a YouTube page, and she also hosts some of her art on DeviantArt. And I think, and what's the handle that you use for that?
I use Rinsdoll. I use Rinsdoll for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So if you guys check that out, you'll be impressed. She's got amazing talent, and I've got no doubt that we'll be downloading or playing one of your games within the next couple of years on Xbox or PlayStation. Would be amazing. So, I just want to say I appreciate you being on with me tonight, Bree, and you're welcome back at any time. I would really, really be excited to hear from you. Maybe towards your next semester, right when you're getting ready to end, because I want to see, maybe if you have some of your portfolio items out there that we could all take a look at and share, and I can share it here with our audience.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Maybe talk a little bit about your experience overall with your degree program, because that, I think, if people are really interested in this type of work in game design, or even any kind of computer-based learning at all, I think it would be a great person to talk to for that. So is that something you'd be interested in?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. And meanwhile, folks, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. It's been fun talking with you, Bree. And I hope that you guys picked up a little bit tonight about game design and development. Next week, again, I have no idea who I'm talking to, but no doubt it's going to be as interesting as tonight. So I will see you all next Tuesday night. Have a good night. Thank you so very much for joining me on the Art Talk podcast, where it's my goal to bring artists together to talk about their craft. If you'd like to join me for a conversation, please reach out via email at johncoleartist@gmail.com or by visiting my website at johnrobertcole.com. So until next time, keep crafting, painting, and inspiring others with your creativity. You make more of an impact than you know.